They think they've won. They think they have control over you. They think their words, their insults, their games actually matter to you. But what if you did nothing? What if you didn't fight back? What if you didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't react at all? You see, the weak survive on attention. They need your energy. They crave your response. Because without it, they are nothing. The moment you stop reacting, that's the moment their power starts crumbling. Because silence, it's not weakness. It's a weapon. And if you know how to use it, you can make them unmask themselves. You can expose their true fears, their insecurities, their desperation. They don't want you to know this. They want you trapped in their game, playing by their rules. But after today, that game is over. Because by the time you finish listening to this, you will never fall for their trap again. Let's begin. They poke you. They insult you. They test you, waiting for a reaction. Because your reaction gives them power. Your anger, your frustration, it's fuel for them. But here's something they never expected. You stop responding. And that changes everything. At first, they act like they don't care. Like your silence doesn't bother them. But inside, they're crumbling. Because their strength, it was never real. It only existed as long as you played their game. As long as you gave them your energy. But now, there's nothing left for them to feed on. And without your reaction, they're exposed. Look at history. Look at the strongest warriors, the greatest leaders, the most powerful minds. Did they argue with fools? Did they waste their breath on those beneath them? No. They understood something most people never do. Silence is control. And control, that's power. The moment you stop reacting, you take back control. But why is silence so powerful? Because it forces them to face themselves. No distractions. No escape. Just them and their own weakness. The people who try to manipulate you, the ones who provoke you. They do it because they can't face who they really are, so they pull you in. They need you to engage. They need you to play their game. Because as long as you're distracted, as long as you're reacting, they can avoid the truth. The truth that without you, without your attention, they are nothing. And that's why silence destroys them. It leaves them alone. With their own insecurities. With their own failures. With their own weakness. No more control. No more power. Just them and the reality they tried so hard to hide. Now the question is, can you do it? Can you resist the urge to react? Can you sit back and watch them fall apart on their own? Most people can't. Because most people need to prove something. They need to prove they're strong. Prove they're right. Prove they can fight back. But the truth is, the strongest ones, they don't need to prove anything. Because they already know. And that's why they win. Because while others fight for control, they already have it. Now ask yourself, who do you want to be? The one begging for attention? Or the one in control? Because after today, you can never say you didn't know the truth. Now, it's your move. What will you choose? They act strong. They act confident. They act like nothing can break them. But that's all it is. An act. Because behind their words, behind their arrogance, behind their fake confidence, there's something they don't want you to see. Something they don't even want to admit to themselves. Fear. They push you. They provoke you. They try to get inside your head. Because as long as you react, as long as you fight back, as long as you play along, they can keep pretending. They can keep hiding. But the moment you go silent, the moment you stop responding, the moment you refuse to give them what they want, that's when the mask cracks. Because their power, it was never real. It only worked because you believed in it. Because you played into it. But now you see through the illusion. Now you see the truth. They weren't strong. They weren't fearless. They weren't in control. They were just louder than you. And that's all they ever had. Look around you. Look at the ones who always need attention. The ones who insult, manipulate, and try to break others down. Are they truly powerful? Or are they just desperate? Desperate to feel in control. Desperate to feel important. Desperate to cover up their own weakness. Because if they were truly strong, would they need to prove it? Would they need to force you to react? Would they need to constantly demand attention? No. True power doesn't seek validation. True power doesn't need recognition. It just is. But the weak, they need constant reassurance. Because deep down, they know. If the world stops looking at them, if the world stops reacting to them, if the world stops feeding their ego, they disappear. They become what they feared all along, irrelevant. And that's why silence destroys them. Because it forces them to face their greatest nightmare. A world where they no longer matter. So now, it's up to you. Will you keep playing their game? Will you keep feeding their illusion? Will you keep giving them the reaction they need? Or will you watch as they crumble under their own weight? Because the truth is simple. They never had control. They never had real power. They only had the attention you gave them. And now, you know the secret. You owe them nothing. Not your anger. Not your frustration. Not even a single word, because the moment you go silent, they're finished. They push your buttons. They say the right words, at the right time, in the right way. Not because they're strong. Not because they're smart. But because they know one thing. Most people can't control themselves. Think about it. How many times have you reacted without thinking? How many times have you snapped back, only to regret it later? That's not an accident. That's by design. Because when you react, you are no longer in control. Your emotions take over. Your anger clouds your judgment. Your frustration makes you weak. And that's exactly what they want, because if they can control your reaction, they can control you. This is the trap. The psychological game they play. They push you, waiting for you to break. And the moment you do, they win. Not because they were better. Not because they were stronger. But because they made you lose control. And when you lose control, you make mistakes. You say things you shouldn't. You do things you regret. You become exactly what they wanted you to be. A puppet, reacting to their every move. But what happens when you don't react? What happens when you refuse to play their game? That's when the power shifts. Because without your reaction, they have nothing. They can't manipulate you. They can't control you. They can't pull you into their trap. And suddenly, the one who thought they were in charge, they start losing it. Because they need your reaction. They depend on it. It's what keeps their illusion alive. But the moment you go silent, their illusion shatters. So why do people still fall into this trap? Because they don't understand one simple truth. Reactions are a choice. No one can force you to respond. No one can make you lose control, unless you let them. And that's where real power comes from. Not from shouting the loudest. Not from fighting every battle. But from knowing when to say nothing at all. Because sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is no move at all. So now, ask yourself, are you in control of your mind? Or are they? Because after today, you will never look at your reactions the same way again. And the next time someone tries to push you, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember the truth. And instead of reacting, you'll smile and walk away. Untouched, unshaken, unbreakable. They push you. They test you. They try to drag you into their chaos. But the real question is, will you take the bait? Ignoring isn't just about staying silent. It's a skill, a discipline, a weapon. Because when you ignore someone correctly, you don't just avoid conflict. You make them powerless. But most people don't know how to do it right. They think ignoring means looking away, but still caring inside. They think it means staying quiet, but still feeling frustrated. That's not power. That's just suppressing emotions. Real control, real ignoring, it means you don't just stop reacting. You stop caring. So, how do you master this? Step 1. Control your internal reaction. Before you can ignore someone externally, you have to ignore them internally. Their words, meaningless. Their insults, just noise. Their attempts to provoke you, pathetic. The moment you stop letting their actions mean anything to you, that's when you truly win. Step 2. Silence is not weakness, it's strength. Some people think silence means backing down. That if you don't react, you're losing. Wrong. The greatest warriors, the greatest leaders, the most powerful people in history, they knew when to strike and when to stay silent. Because silence makes them uncomfortable. Silence forces them to fight themselves. Step 3. Let them reveal their own weakness. When you don't react, they start showing their true colors. They get louder. They get desperate. They try harder to get a response. And every time they do, they expose their own weakness. You're not even fighting them anymore. They're fighting themselves. So next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this. If you react, you give them control. If you stay silent, you take it back. The most powerful move you can make. Do nothing. Let them destroy themselves. Because silence isn't just ignoring. Silence is domination. They act strong. They act untouchable. They act like nothing bothers them. But when you stop reacting, that's when their mask cracks. Every manipulator, every bully, every toxic person, they all have one thing in common. They need your reaction. They feed on your emotions. They survive on the energy you give them. But what happens when you stop giving them what they want? What happens when you refuse to play their game? They fall apart. Because here's the truth, the loudest people are usually the weakest. The most aggressive people are often the most insecure. The ones who demand the most attention are the ones who can't handle being ignored. And the moment you go silent, they feel it. They start doubting themselves. They start questioning their power. They start wondering, why aren't they reacting? And that's when their fear kicks in. The psychology of being ignored. Think about the last time someone ignored you. That feeling of uncertainty. That irritation, that frustration, that need to get a response. Now imagine that multiplied. Because these people thrive on attention. And when they don't get it, they start to self-destruct. Some lash out, trying to provoke you harder. Some get desperate, trying to win back control. Some completely break down, because their identity depends on being noticed. Why ignoring them works so well? Because when someone expects a reaction and doesn't get one, they feel powerless. They don't know if they've won or lost. They don't know if you're thinking about them or not. They don't know if they've affected you at all. And that not knowing, it eats them alive. That's why silence isn't just avoidance. It's a mirror. It forces them to face their own insecurity. It forces them to see their own weakness. It forces them to realize they were never as powerful as they thought. Real-life proof, how people break when ignored. Look at history. Look at business. Look at relationships. The people who lost control, they were the ones who needed validation. The ones who kept their power, they were the ones who knew. Attention is a currency. Give it away for free, and people use it against you. Keep it to yourself, and you become untouchable. How to use this power in your life? Next time someone tries to provoke you, don't argue. Don't explain. Don't fight back. Just watch. Watch them struggle with your silence. Watch them try harder and harder to get a response. Watch them reveal their own fear. And when they finally break, you'll understand the true power of ignoring. Because silence isn't just quiet. Silence is control. Silence is strength. Silence is the weapon that exposes their weakness. Every single time.
They thought they had control. They thought they could push you, break you, make you react. But now they're the ones struggling. Now they're the ones drowning in their own weakness. Now they're the ones exposed. And you never even had to lift a finger. This is the power of silence. It's not just ignoring someone. It's not just staying quiet. It's psychological warfare. It's a mirror that forces them to see their own reflection. It's a weapon that turns their strength into their downfall, because when you remove your attention, you take away the very thing that keeps them standing. No reaction. No power. No control. They crumble under their own weight. Why this matters in your life? Think about the people who try to manipulate you. Think about the ones who play mind games. Think about the ones who live for drama. They want you to react. They need you to engage. But the moment you stop, you win. Because the real power isn't in the loudest voice. It's in the calmest mind. It's in the person who doesn't need to prove anything. When you learn to control your reactions, you control your life. And when you control your life, nobody can ever control you again. So the next time someone tries to push your buttons, pause. Take a breath. And remember, the strongest move you can make is no move at all. Let them fight the silence. Let them fight themselves. And watch as their weakness is unmasked. Without you ever saying a word.